Welcome. Thank you for choosing to come to my presentation. My name is Morgan Atkins, or Miss A to my students, and I am from Rochester, New York. I teach at Hillel Community Day School, and my principal is also here, Tracy Glazer. And I'm just really happy that you chose to talk today and join my presentation. I'm going to be talking about like a structure for planning and kind of how I use that with my BetterLesson coach this year. And then you're also going to kind of get a chance to explore a little bit, as long as I don't talk too much. So if you have your computers, like have them up and out, and you can have the slideshow along with it. So I ask that you actually do that, because there are going to be some links that you can click. So I'll give you a moment to get situated. So a little bit about me. I chose to include some visuals here for you. I went to Canisius College, got my degree childhood education. I also was really blessed to run track and cross country there, and decided I wanted to just go ahead and teach right out of college. So this picture here is from Uncommon School. So that's where I started out 4 years ago. And this was small group instruction, but really not that small. It's like the size of students I have now, 10 kids. So I took so much away from that school, specifically data-driven instruction and a lot of behavior management techniques that I am now using in my school at Hillel. So I kind of blended that with my own kind of style. So I worked there, and then a couple years later, I got my master's at St. John Fisher in Rochester in special ed. So basically, just growing up, I decided I wanted to be a teacher. I was really into sports, and my coaches were all teachers and really inspiring to me. And it was really hard for me to decide to leave Uncommon. It was a really demanding job, but I decided that I wanted to be able to kind of take my own style into teaching. So it was hard mostly to leave the kids, honestly. Like, I get emotional about it, but I was like, can I do this in another setting? So I went to Hillel, which is a private Jewish day school. It's a totally different environment, but I realized that the kids at Uncommon needed like love, attention, the need for belonging, and like that's what kids need here too. It's almost the same, just a different context. They need love, they need praise, they need attention. The one last thing I'll say, like I have a few different students up here, but something that really drives me is like kind of the challenge behind like a challenging student or a challenging something that's going on. And I love like having students coming in, like they're below grade level, like what can we do? Like how can we get them there? And having them be a part of that process. So you can see some of these students, knew and their confidence was low because of how they were doing. And so like being along with them on that journey and that ride, making them feel successful, you'll see in some of the strategies that I use today. And then, another student who was in the principal's office every day in his old school, and now he's thriving. So it just shows like the impact that you can make. And another student from Israel who spoke no English and now is speaking at a 3rd grade level. So it's just really awesome to reflect and be a part of that journey. So today I'm going to talk about a structure for planning that I created kind of with my coach, taking into account student needs, thinking about a strategy. You'll explore the BetterLesson website tomorrow, what strategies you want to use, and then what challenges or roadblocks are going to get in the way of that, and then strategizing how to prevent those roadblocks or try to, implementing it, and then like really reflecting and not just saying like it went well, it didn't go so well. Like what specifically didn't go well and how can we tweak that? And then I did kind of 2 domain areas this year. So we'll talk about that, and then you're going to get the chance to explore. Go ahead. So I'm a really visual person. When people are talking to me, I'm like, can you show me? Can you model it? So I was talking to Ramon about like how to make this visual for you guys. So I put student needs kind of huge right there, because if you don't know your students, you don't know who's in front of you, you might not even know what strategy you want to try. So that's where we got to start. And that's like the heart of the planning. That's why I made it a heart. Then you're going to think about a strategy, brainstorm what you want to do. I mean, this could be just simply like, I want to try doing circle up in the morning, or like, I want to do PBL. Like, there's like so much you could do. And then thinking about those roadblocks that could get in the way. Okay, so, you know, I'll give an example. And then you're going to strategize, implement it, and then really zoom in, start general, get more specific, and then you'll do it again. And that's the process that we're going to kind of explore and talk about today. So student needs has to be number one. You know, you start this on the first day of school. It's ongoing. And there's different ways. You obviously need to complete assessments. That's not exactly like what my presentation is about today, but there's different resources that I've included in the agenda that's attached, not on the slideshow. So you could do running records, spelling inventory, take old standardized tests, and just assess where your students are coming into you. And then also just thinking about their experience and their background and ways to assess that through discussions that you have as a class, open discussions, or if you work at a small school, you might have those individual discussions where you can sit down one-on-one. So in my class, we did circle up, and that's like a strategy that we would have like a classroom like morning meeting, and we started to really like share personal things and like really connect as a team. And then as you can see here, this was showing kind of like what different students needed. So we were doing something on Martin Luther King, and this student was reading at a 7th grade level in 4th grade. And so I used Newsela, which is awesome if you've never used Newsela, and they can differentiate the reading level. And then this was a student who was reading at a 3rd grade level. So I used a different text for that, still the same topic. So starting out with that, then you can like think about what your students need in order to brainstorm those roadblocks. Go ahead. So roadblocks are those challenges that are going to kind of get in your way, those obstacles. So you know, have like a notebook. You got a notebook in your bag today that you can just like make a list of potential things that could get in the way, even as simple as like, you know, so-and-so doesn't speak English. Like that's a roadblock. That's going to get in the way. How can I include that? Pick 1 or 2 to focus on, and then strategize, and this is where you really work with your coach on how to prevent this roadblock. So something that I had to really focus on a lot this year with some of the students I had in my classroom is like, I really need to model this and break it down, or they're not going to understand it, or providing some sort of visual. You can't just give the directions. They're going to look at me and stare at me. I need to like actually show them or provide some sort of visual. And then a zoom in reflection, I picture it as this like triangle. It's starting out general, starting out thinking about, okay, how did this strategy go? It went well. In my classroom, we talk about like glows and grows. And then thinking about like what was the most prominent, like important thing that we struggled with that I think we really could fix or tweak to make it better. And when you get to explore, I know this might be like a lot, but when you get to explore today, you'll see how I did that with some of the strategies. And then you can talk to your coach and plan then how you can redo it and fix that roadblock that got in the way. So today, this is where you are going to use your sticky notes. You are going to get a choice. So this is essentially a strategy that you could use in your classroom. It's called a choice board, or like a choose your own adventure style. So I didn't want to just stand up here and talk to you about all the strategies I tried out this year with my coach. I wanted you to get a chance to explore. You'll see some links. This indicates that it's a link. So there's some things in there that you might not know that vocabulary term. Race is something I used this year. If you don't know what it is, you can click on it and it'll send you to a link so you can see what it is. There's a couple other ones as well. So you are going to choose one of these strategies to explore, and so I just ask that you put that color sticky note on your laptop so I can see what everyone's exploring and that we're not like all going to sticky note annotations. I just want to kind of see who's in the audience right now before we get started. So if you can just raise your hand if you're an elementary school teacher. Okay, all right. Middle school or high school. Okay, so we're kind of even. And then administrators. Oh, interesting. Okay, so if you are elementary school, You probably might teach various subjects, like I teach ELA, science, and social studies. So a lot of my strategies did have to do with ELA, but could be applied to different subject areas. If you teach middle school or high school, I suggest that you go to SMART goals or Screencastify, because those could be applied to different subject areas. Goal setting is huge and can be applied across age levels. Sticky note annotations is more of an ELA strategy, so if you teach reading, it could probably be applied in middle school as well. And then literature circles is more of a reading strategy. However, I feel that you could apply it to like history or historical text, so that might give you an idea now if you want to think about what you want to explore. And then if you're like a speed demon, some of you might be, there's a bonus you could come back to. If you see this button, you'll click that and you come back to this board. It'll bring you back. So you'll know, okay, I've explored this strategy, I see this button, I'm going to come back and maybe explore a different strategy. You'll also see that things are highlighted in yellow, and those are just things that I really zoomed in and focused on, and so you might see them in the picture. That's why I highlighted them for you. So if you can just go to the next slide really quickly. When you explore, today I do want to give you kind of something to think about for when we share out. Obviously you'll click the link, read up, learn, and then take it into your own context. Like, what would be your student needs and potential roadblocks? How could you strategize to prevent them? Like, okay, I have a different age level than you had, Morgan, so I think that it would be a little different. So just thinking about if it was similar or different, and then I would love to hear some of your thoughts afterwards as long as we get through. So if you can just go back one more time, this slide. All right, so right now I'm gonna give you about 30 seconds to decide. I'm hoping to see a lot of different colors. Okay, great.
I can't get to it.
Okay. Yeah.
Just press, I did, but it didn't undo.
It wasn't you then, because you'd be able to.
All right, he's putting it right now. Thank you for your patience. All right, I am going to put on some music because that's what I do in the classroom, so if that's what you hear.
You want us to watch the videos? Is there sound to them for the literature circle?
There is, yeah. So there is headphones in the, yes, yes, yeah. And if you have any questions, I'm going to be walking around. Flip, so so did you go to that one? So it's right here. Yeah, so like I was talking and reading this, so it was a homework assignment. So like I was kind of there with them. But like you could use it for math or anything else, like you would be like doing the work.
You're like
Yes.
video taking the kids?
Nope, so go to this one. Yeah, and you can click and see it in action. I don't know if you have your headphones in the black thing, but
So I'm looking at the SMART goal setting.
Yes.
And this is something I also do. So I was wondering when you said teacher giving goal ideas took less ownership away.
so like me just being like, I think you should work on this, instead of them kind of coming up with like me almost being like,
Right.
you just did this on a quiz. You also did this in math. You also did that. Well, I don't teach math. You also
Sure.
did this.
Yeah.
What do you think you should work on? Whereas if I'm just like, Anna, you should probably work on your, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it takes,
Yeah.
So you think that, so it takes less ownership away when you suggest it, or
Well, like I think they should take ownership of their goal. Like
right?
they
I
should,
agree.
yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Possibly. I mean, maybe not. It might just be better to just give them the goal, because then
No.
you can know that it's right.
Right.
But I wanted them to feel, because one of my domains was ownership, choice, and voice, like them to
Right.
feel like I came up with this, like I want to achieve this goal.
I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys looking at Screencastify?
We started off
Yeah.
with pink and then switched
Yeah.
to, we didn't know what Screencastify was.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's an app that, can you just explain
Yeah,
to me briefly?
yeah. So like I had this open. It's like a PDF file, and Screencastify is like recording while I'm talking, and like it has these things down here where I could like write on it.
So you're showing them how to annotate.
I was showing them how to annotate. It was something that we had just started. This wasn't the first time ever, because we had read previous chapters, but I had a lot of kids who had trouble making inferences. So we would like underline evidence and then write it in the margin. Not like a paragraph, but.
So you didn't like show this like to the whole class at once. Was this something kids did at a station with the laptop?
This was a homework assignment.
This was a homework.
Yeah, so I like our homework to like have to do with like what we're doing in class. So an extension. And one of the third and fourth, this was fourth grade. So one of the problems I was having is like the book was long and like I only have them half a day and like we were just like not getting through the book because like I was teaching other things too. So like time was just like kind of a roadblock. Yeah, it was just kind of a roadblock because it's close reading, we were like really zooming in. We weren't just reading a chapter and then moving on, you know. So, okay. Okay. So that is the timer. I know that there was some technological issues. I apologize. I did go through it a couple times in practice, but I know sometimes this wasn't logged on to my Google account or something, so that might have been an issue. But if you could just kind of take that strategy and then maybe, you know, send me an email or your BetterLesson coach and they might be able to get you a link to it, or just let me know because I definitely want you to have access and I can get that for you. So I know, Anna, I asked you if you could share some of your thoughts on goal setting and some of your thoughts because you teach high school.
Yeah, I teach high school English, so last year I taught 9th and 10th grade, and it's really important to me that my students feel like they have a stake in what we're learning and they feel invested in what we're doing in the classroom. But that can also be hard when I have specific goals for the class to meet, right? So if I need every student to learn how to use MLA formatting, they might not organically choose MLA formatting as a fun thing that they would like to do. So what I really like about this goal setting layout here is that it sort of highlights the balance between letting a teacher sort of guide the goal by giving feedback and sort of like leading the child or student to think about what they want to focus on. But still gives them the ownership to sort of feel like, yep, you know, this is an area where I want to grow, and they feel like what they're doing is valuable to them and not just a task that I've assigned them that they have to complete.
Yeah, goal setting is something that can be really hard to start out with. Like, that's why I tried to model it for them. I was going to run a half marathon, and so I was like, in order to run the half marathon, I'm going to have to train this amount, and this is my final time goal. And I was trying to give them a really specific, because it's called SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, and they would be like, I want to spell better, I want to write better. And I was like, okay, I really need to like help you make this specific. And so that's why like it really is a process. Even for a high schooler, you really have to like take them through that whole process, or it's just going to be like, I want to be able to write like an essay.
I'm going to add also, I've noticed that a lot of my students, even if I give them feedback, sometimes they don't know how to turn that into a goal, and they'll be like, oh, I guess I'm just bad at using commas, and they're like, that's it. So I think this is a cool way to sort of show them how that's not like a negative thing, but just a measure, like a measure, and if it can get better every time, then that's obviously showing progress.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a question on the goal setting, which I'm also a huge fan of.
Yeah.
How did you, when you had your students pick a very specific goal, how often would you reference back to that goal to remind them that this, remember we're working on, you know, commas, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So
goal setting was something really trial and error for me. Like I had a poster, and if you saw in that one picture, they were putting their sticky notes on there. So I would be like, go place it on there. And like I had a goal of like, let's come back, do it Monday, come back to it Friday. And like that was difficult because like in the schedule, just like being like, okay, I'm gonna meet with you about your goal. Because I was really trying to make it really personalized. Like Tracy needs this, Anna needs that. Like, and so it was a lot to manage, but I would say like, I had to create that time where like they were working on their bright work or the morning work, and I would pull someone to the back table. We'd talk about the goal. Have you achieved it? I had a sticker chart. Put a star on your chart. What's your next? Like, again, trying to make it really differentiated for each student. But sometimes a week was just too short. So then I just had to adjust it. Like, we're gonna now do every 2 weeks. We're not gonna do once a month because your goals are just so big. And so I think honestly, it's kind of just trial and error. But also, it did sometimes feel like sporadic. Like some of the kids, which was also really awesome, some of the kids were like, Miss A, I reached my goal. Like, can I put a star on my chart? And I'm like, what? Like, let me come over and see. But that was really exciting because they knew of their goal because they were constantly like coming back to it, or like, go grab your sticky note. So it's like on you to kind of be, or like they'll catch you and they'll bring it up because they're really excited about it.
It could be cool to a goal notebook. It's nice for them to have record of what they've set for themselves. So a little notebook, put the sticky note in there. Once it's reached, you do the star, and then keep adding sticky notes. They can see what they've accomplished. I teach first grade. I make them look at their journal. At the end of the year, I make them look at their beginning of the year journal and the end of the year journal. And so many, and they're little, they're 7, but they're like, I wrote like that at the beginning. You know, they forget.
It's true.
They need to see their own progress.
They can do it. Kindergartners can do it. Yeah. Would anyone like to share about Screencastify? I saw a lot of people exploring that. Any ideas on different ways of using it, not just for ELA, or, go ahead.
Sure, I think it could definitely be used to just, if teaching history, it could really be used to help kids study and to put visuals and highlight these important pieces of information, maybe big ideas in one color, pieces of information. I just think it could be a really helpful study tool. And also just history, it's so nice to hear the voice, so I think that could definitely be used for sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm coming from a special ed background, so Screencastify is great when you feel like, I need 3 of me because no one can be independent. So you have students who don't have that ability to be independent yet. If you give them Screencastify, it's like you're already there with them and you've planned to be side by side. And we've even screencasted over videos. If we're teaching, it's for all levels. So when you're teaching a life skill, we will Screencastify shoe tying and talk over it. So a student can re-watch the shoe tying 3 dozen times in a day. Or we'll do it for an upper level skill for editing, and we'll Screencastify going through and doing grammar in blue, and then they can see errors and go back. So we've really used it across skills.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Anyone else have any idea? Oh,
sorry, I'm going to add also. I looked at both. So I think that Screencastify is also great. Like, I can see it working super well for test prep and things like that. I don't know how many of you guys have a lot of standardized testing, but with high school, the SAT is on the horizon for a lot of kids, and it's something that I obviously want to touch base on, but kids are moving at such different paces and have a different investment in it, and also, it's not something that I necessarily want to spend tons of time in class focus on. So sort of like going through testing strategies and like annotating SAT notebooks, things like that is super helpful, I think, in that venue.
Yeah, cool. All right, so these are some of my reflection. I know we're running out of time, but you can kind of look at those later on. It's just like the positive impact that like goal setting and other things in those strategies had in the classroom. But my 2 domains, actually, can you go back one? My 2 domains were student-centered classroom culture and design and ownership, choice, and voice. So student-centered is just what it sounds, but like I was trying to do with those goals, like really making it about you and like what you need to work on and just constantly reflecting. And I tried to really model that for them. Like I would kind of share with them my reflections because it was my first year at Hillel. Like I was like, like we tried this out, you guys. And they're like, yeah, like you talk too much, like it's just annoying, like we're running out of time, we can't get through trying the chocolate factory, like so just like showing them like I'm constantly reflecting, and like we just created this like family of like growing and like celebrating each other, and so that's why I loved goal setting. And Screencastify obviously could be used for so many different reasons, but kids like love technology, and as long as you lay out the barriers for technology use, I think it can be really helpful for like increasing the learning. Instead of just saying read chapter 8 for homework, like I'm gonna be right there with you, telling you what to annotate. I'm gonna check your annotations tomorrow. So just so many different ways for us to kind of explore creating that culture of growth and creating a culture of air. And then obviously like Circle Up isn't a strategy that I had you guys explore, but it's just a way of us like creating kind of a community circle. And I'm just a huge proponent of like it should be used across grade levels for us to kind of create that team atmosphere. And then finally, my last one, I know I'm kind of out of time, but if anyone wants to share out like how, besides the technology aspect, how exploring in like this way felt, or like could you use a choice board in your classroom and have them click around? Like what are your thoughts on this style of presentation instead of me just talking? If anyone wants to share.
I would have used it for mine. My presentation is next.
Positive, yeah.
My presentation is next, and I'm talking about each one of the strategies.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm really concerned about time.
Yeah, time. No, that's
So.
No, I'm glad that you feel like, okay, maybe in the future this is something that you could, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, thank you, everybody. If you would like to try out the choice board, there's a video here, and we'll make sure that all those links work. Yes, thank you.